6 months after the battle that shook the galaxy, Ambassador Kevin Hayes stood in the same council chamber where Commander Amy Stone had once been sentenced to quarantine. But this time, the power dynamic was completely different. The aliens, who had once looked down on humanity with contempt, now watched him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. Kevin had been Jake Morrison's communications officer during that first disastrous meeting with the Zephyrians. Now he was Earth's chief ambassador to the Galactic Council, and the message he carried would reshape interstellar politics forever. Chancellor Ixhan of the hegemony looked older than before, its dark skin seeming to absorb even more light. The ancient being had ruled the council for over 2,000 years, but the human victory had shaken its confidence in everything it thought it knew about the galaxy. Ambassador Hayes, the Chancellor began, the Council acknowledges that our previous judgment of humanity was based on incomplete understanding. We invite you to address our concerns about your species' future role in galactic civilization. Kevin smiled, but not with warmth. He had studied every recording of humanity's treatment by the Council, and he remembered the arrogance and fear that had led to the quarantine. Now those same aliens were asking for his help. Chancellor, members of the Council, Kevin began, my species has learned much about galactic civilization in the past 3 years. We have learned that you fear change, that you prize stability above growth, and that you have forgotten what it means to face real challenges. A ripple of unease went through the chamber. Several alien representatives shifted in their seats, uncomfortable with such direct language. Kevin continued, we have also learned that your great peace and prosperity are built on stagnation. For thousands of years, your species have bred innovation and adaptability out of yourselves. You have become so comfortable with your own superiority that you forgot what real strength looks like. The Saurid representative, a replacement for the fallen General Krikstar, hissed angrily, your species destroyed one of our greatest military leaders in barbaric combat. You showed no respect for civilized rules of engagement. General Krikstar died as a warrior, Kevin replied, something your species had not produced in centuries. His death reminded the Saurids what they used to be before they became comfortable servants of the Council. Dr. Alan Porter, now serving as humanity's chief cultural advisor, stepped forward with a holographic display. We have studied the genetic and cultural evolution of every Council species. What we found is disturbing. Each of your civilizations has systematically eliminated the traits that made them successful in the first place. The display showed genetic analyses spanning millennia. The Zephyrians once thrived on chaotic sound environments that forced them to adapt quickly. Now they live in perfect harmony and panic at the first sign of discord. The Saurids were predators who conquered their world through cunning and strength. Now they follow orders without question. Every species in this council has traded away its evolutionary advantages for the comfort of following someone else's rules. Kevin added, that is why you fear humanity. We represent everything you gave up to join this galactic civilization. Chancellor, Ixhan's black eyes fixed on Kevin. What does humanity want from this council? Kevin's answer surprised everyone in the chamber. Nothing. Nothing? The Chancellor repeated. Humanity does not need the Council's permission to exist or to explore the galaxy. We proved that when we defeated your invasion fleet. What we offer is something you need much more than we need anything from you. Dr. Porter activated another display, this one showing technological and cultural innovations from across the galaxy over the past 1,000 years. The chart was nearly flat, showing minimal advancement or change. Your civilization is dying, Kevin said bluntly. Not from war or disease, but from complacency. You have created a perfect, stable, predictable society that has no ability to grow or adapt. The barrier you put around Earth was not meant to protect the galaxy from us. It was meant to protect you from seeing what you could become if you stopped being afraid of change. The Void-born representative, a creature of living energy, spoke for the first time in the session. You claim we need humanity's help. What could a young species like yours offer to civilizations that have existed for millennia? Kevin smiled genuinely for the first time since entering the chamber. The ability to solve problems you cannot even imagine. The courage to try new things even when they might fail. The strength to adapt when everything you thought you knew turns out to be wrong. Over the next hour, Kevin presented proposal after proposal that would have been unthinkable before humanity's victory. Human advisors would be assigned to alien species struggling with technological or social problems. Human teachers would help younger civilizations develop their own innovative capabilities. Most importantly, humans would serve as the galaxy's troubleshooters, the species' other civilizations called when they faced challenges their own peaceful societies could not handle. "But why would you help us?" asked the Zephyrian representative. "We quarantined your species. We tried to destroy you." Kevin's answer came from the heart of human nature. Because that is what humans do. We help, we adapt, we find solutions. You feared us because you thought our strength came from violence and aggression. But those traits are just tools. What makes humans dangerous is not that we can fight, but that we never give up. The real proof of Kevin's words came in the form of requests that had been flooding into Earth's communication networks for months. Younger alien species, particularly those still developing their own spacefaring capabilities, were secretly asking for human assistance and guidance. Dr. Porter showed the council representatives messages from dozens of civilizations. They want to know how humans went from primitive spaceflight to reverse engineering advanced alien technology in just 2 years. They want to understand how human society produces so much innovation and adaptation. Most importantly, they want to know if they can learn these abilities without becoming violent. The answer was yes, and it terrified the council. If other species learned to think and adapt like humans, the rigid hierarchy that had kept the galaxy stable for millennia would collapse. Chancellor Ixon stood slowly, its ancient form seeming to carry the weight of cosmic history. "The Council will consider your proposals, but we must ask, what guarantees can you offer that humanity will not use its influence to destabilize galactic civilization?" Kevin laughed, a sound that was both joyful and slightly menacing. "Chancellor, we already have destabilized galactic civilization. The question is whether you want our help managing the changes that are coming, or whether you prefer to face them alone." As the session ended and Kevin prepared to leave, he was approached by individual alien representatives. They came not as council members, but as beings who recognized that their civilizations needed what humanity offered. The Saurid replacement for General Crickstar was first. "My people remember what we used to be. Can your species help us remember our strength without losing our wisdom?" The Zephyrian ambassador was next. "Our young ones ask questions we cannot answer. They want to know why our music never changes, why our art is always the same. Could human teachers show them new ways to create?" One by one, they came. Species that had once voted to quarantine humanity now begged for human help, guidance, and partnership. As Kevin returned to his ship, he reflected on how completely the situation had changed. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. Instead, they had done something far more powerful. They had proven that the galaxy's greatest problems could only be solved by embracing the very traits the aliens feared most. The final scene played out 3 months later when a new species made first contact with the Galactic Council. The Corvani were aggressive, unpredictable, and showed disturbing signs of rapid technological advancement. In the old days, the Council would have immediately moved to quarantine or eliminate them. Instead, Chancellor Ixon sent a simple message. "To Earth, we have a situation that requires human expertise." Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, smiled as he read the request. The man who had accidentally started the crisis with his gift of human music was now being asked to lead the first joint human-alien diplomatic mission to the galactic frontier. The species that had been feared for their unpredictability had become the galaxy's most valuable asset. And in the depths of space, new civilizations looked up at the stars and knew that somewhere out there, humans were waiting to help them face whatever challenges the universe might bring. The age of human influence had begun, not through conquest, but through the simple recognition that in a galaxy full of perfect, peaceful, stagnant civilizations, sometimes what you needed most was a species crazy enough to try impossible things and stubborn enough to make them work. The battle had been raging for 6 hours, and space around Earth was filled with the debris of both human and alien ships. General Crickstar stood on the bridge of his command vessel, staring at tactical displays that showed a situation he had never encountered in 300 years of military service. The human fleet was not fighting like any civilized species should. They appeared from nowhere, struck at unexpected targets, and vanished before his forces could respond. Worse, they were using captured alien technology in ways that should not be possible, combining weapon systems from different species to create hybrid monsters that no military designer had ever imagined. Status report, Crickstar growled at his tactical officer. Sir, we have lost 37 vessels, mostly support craft and communication ships. Our battle line remains intact, but we cannot establish contact with many of our units. The humans are jamming our frequencies with some kind of chaotic signal. What Crickstar's officer did not understand was that the chaotic signal was human music, specifically chosen by Dr. Rachel Kim's psychological warfare team. Heavy metal, punk rock, and battle hymns blasted across alien communication channels, designed to cause maximum confusion and fear among species that had never heard anything like it. Captain Dana Foster led her squadron in another hit-and-run attack against the alien rearguard. Her ship, the USS Mockingbird, had been captured from the Zephyrians 2 hours earlier and then modified with human weapons in the middle of battle. It was exactly the kind of impossible improvisation that made the aliens think humans were insane. Target their sensor array, Dana called to her weapons officer, and broadcast the Wagner piece on their command frequency as we attack. The ride of the Valkyries thundered across space as human fighters swarmed around a Saurid heavy cruiser. The alien crew, already confused by the chaotic nature of the battle, panicked completely when their ship began resonating with the powerful music. Within minutes, they abandoned their vessel entirely. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Sam Miller coordinated the overall human strategy from his mobile command post. Unlike the aliens, who fought from static command centers, Miller moved constantly throughout the battle zone, adapting his tactics as new opportunities appeared. Admiral Brooks, we have a chance to take out their main communication hub, Miller reported. But it will require a direct assault on the command ship. Admiral Brooks studied the tactical display. The alien command vessel was surrounded by protective escorts and bristled with weapons that could destroy entire planets. It should have been suicide to attack it directly. Do it, Brooks ordered. Nothing about this battle has been predictable yet. Let's keep it that way. Major Chris Anderson received the order with a grim smile. His squadron had been reinforced with pilots from every nation on Earth, volunteers who knew they probably would not survive the mission but understood what was at stake. Remember, Anderson told his pilots as they approached the massive alien dreadnought, we are not trying to destroy it. We are trying to do something they will never expect. Instead of attacking the command ship with weapons, Anderson's squadron did something unprecedented in galactic military history. They challenged General Crickstar to personal combat. The transmission went out on all alien frequencies, translated into perfect Saurid military language. General Crickstar, you call humans cowards and savages? Prove your own courage. Meet us in single combat, warrior to warrior, as your ancestors did before your species became soft and weak. For a moment, the entire battle seemed to pause. Single combat had not been seen in galactic warfare for over 1,000 years. It was considered primitive, uncivilized, beneath the dignity of advanced species, but the Saurids were not like other aliens. Deep in their genetic memory lay the instincts of predators, warriors who had once ruled their homeworld through strength and cunning. Crickstar felt something stir in his blood that had been sleeping for generations. Humans, he broadcast back, you dare to challenge a Saurid general to combat? Your species has existed for barely a moment compared to ours. Very well. I accept your challenge. What happened next would be studied by military historians for centuries. General Crickstar ordered his escort ships to stand down and faced Anderson's squadron alone. But instead of the formal, ritualized combat the alien expected, the humans attacked like a pack of wolves, coordinating their assault with a precision and creativity that left Crickstar stunned. They did not just try to destroy his ship, they boarded it, fighting through the corridors with weapons and tactics the aliens had never encountered. Anderson himself confronted Crickstar in the general's own command center, armed with nothing but a combat knife and the kind of fierce determination that had carried humans from caves to the stars. The fight between human and alien lasted only minutes, but its effects rippled throughout the battlefield. When word spread that General Crickstar had fallen to a human warrior in single combat, something broke in the alien fleet. The Saurids, who had led the invasion, began to retreat. They had followed Crickstar because he represented the old ways, the warrior spirit their species had almost forgotten. His defeat at human hands proved that humans were not just dangerous, they were superior warriors, but the real psychological impact came from what the other alien species witnessed. The humans had not just won through superior technology or numbers. They had won by being everything the aliens feared them to be: unpredictable, adaptive, willing to break any rule to achieve victory. Dr. Rachel Kim monitored the alien communications from Earth and smiled as she heard the panic in their voices. The Zephyrians were describing humans as demons of sound and fury, the Voidborn called them, creatures of pure chaos. Every species had a different name for what they feared, but they all feared the same thing: humanity's refusal to be limited by anyone else's rules. As the alien fleet began to retreat, Admiral Brooks made a decision that would define humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. Instead of letting them go, he ordered a pursuit. "Sir," one of his officers questioned, "we have won. Should we not let them return to the council with news of our victory?" Brooks shook his head. "They came here to commit genocide. They need to understand that such actions have consequences." The pursuit lasted 3 days and took the human fleet far beyond the solar system for the first time since the quarantine began. Earth's ships chased the aliens through interstellar space, striking at them again and again, never letting them regroup or recover. By the time the surviving alien ships reached Galactic Council space, they carried with them stories that would change everything. Humans were not just dangerous, they were unstoppable. They did not follow the rules of civilized warfare because they made their own rules as they went. Most terrifying of all, they had proven that the galaxy's military power was based on nothing more than tradition and fear. The Council's great fleets were helpless against an enemy that refused to fight the way they expected. The age of human dominance had begun, not through conquest but through demonstration. The species that had been quarantined as a threat to galactic peace had become the galaxy's greatest fear, and in the depths of space, Admiral Brooks smiled as he received a message from the Galactic Council. It was not a demand for surrender or a threat of retaliation. It was a request for negotiation. Admiral Carl Brooks stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the Pentagon, staring at the holographic display that showed Nick Torres's intelligence data. The images of the alien invasion fleet hung in the air like a death sentence. Hundreds of ships, weapons that could destroy planets, and a timeline that gave Earth less than 2 months to prepare. President Curran White sat at the head of the table, her face pale but determined. Around her were the best military minds humanity could offer, but they all knew the truth. Even with 2 years of rapid technological advancement, Earth's forces were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. "How many ships can we field?" the president asked. General Patricia Clark, head of the Space Command, consulted her tablet. "We have 47 combat-ready vessels, all built with reverse-engineered alien technology. Fast, well-armed, but no match for what we are facing in terms of raw numbers." Dr. Alan Porter, who had been studying alien combat tactics since returning from the Council Ring, stood up. "Numbers are not our real problem. The aliens fight according to patterns that have not changed in millennia. If we can break those patterns, we might have a chance." Admiral Brooks nodded. "Show them what you found, Alan." Dr. Porter activated a new hologram that showed alien battle formations from the past 1,000 years. Every engagement follows the same rules. They announce their attack plans in advance. They form orderly battle lines. They target military objectives first and retreat when casualties reach 12%. They have turned warfare into a predictable ritual. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Miller leaned forward. He was the youngest person in the room, but had already proven himself as one of humanity's best tactical minds. They are fighting a war they understand, not the war they are actually in. Exactly, Dr. Porter said. And that gives us our only advantage. They cannot predict how we will respond because we do not follow their rules. President White looked around the table. What are you proposing? Admiral Brooks stood up. Project Wildcard? Instead of trying to match their numbers, we use human advantages, speed, adaptability, unpredictability. We build a fleet designed around what humans do best. The plan that emerged over the next week was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of massive battleships, Earth would field swarms of small, fast attack craft. Each ship would be crewed by just 3 people and armed with weapons. That could be modified in real time during battle. The key was Lieutenant Colonel Miller's insight about human tactical thinking. Where aliens planned everything in advance and stuck to their plans no matter what happened, humans were masters of improvisation. They could adapt their strategy in the middle of a fight, turning disasters into opportunities. Dr. Rachel Kim, the fleet's chief psychologist, worked on another aspect of the plan. The aliens fear us because they do not understand us, she explained to the assembled ship captains. We can use that fear as a weapon. Her team had developed psychological warfare techniques designed specifically for each alien species. The Zephyrians were sensitive to sound and rhythm, so human ships would broadcast music and noise designed to cause panic. The Saurids were territorial and hierarchical, so humans would target their command structures and challenge their leaders to individual combat. But the most important part of the plan was philosophical. Humanity would not try to be something it was not. Instead of apologizing for human nature, Earth's forces would embrace everything the aliens feared about them. Captain Dana Foster, one of the project's test pilots, summed it up perfectly during a briefing. They think we are dangerous because we do not follow their rules, so we will show them just how dangerous rule breakers can be. The shipyards of Earth worked around the clock for 6 weeks. New vessels rolled out every day, each one slightly different from the last as human engineers continued to improve and modify designs in real time. The aliens would expect standardized fleets with predictable capabilities. Instead, they would face ships that were as individual and unpredictable as their human crews. Admiral Brooks established his command center on the USS Liberty, a ship designed specifically for coordinating the type of chaotic, fluid battle humanity was planning. Instead of rigid command structures, the fleet would operate more like a jazz ensemble, with each unit improvising around common themes. As the alien fleet approached the edge of the solar system, Earth's defenders took their positions. They did not form orderly battle lines or announce their intentions. Instead, they scattered throughout the system, hiding behind asteroids, moons, and space stations, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Major Chris Anderson led the first squadron of stealth fighters, ships so small and fast that alien sensors could barely track them. His job was to get close enough to the enemy fleet to identify their weaknesses and relay that information to the rest of humanity's forces. Remember, Admiral Brooks's voice crackled over the communications system, we are not trying to win a fair fight. We are trying to win the only fight that matters. The survival of our species depends on us being exactly what they fear us to be. Dr. Kim added her own message to the fleet. They have studied our history and concluded that we are unpredictable and dangerous. They are right. Show them why human unpredictability is the most powerful force in the galaxy. The alien fleet entered the solar system in perfect formation, just as Dr. Porter had predicted. Their ships moved in orderly groups, following patterns that had worked for thousands of years against civilized opponents. At the center of the formation was the command vessel of General Crickstar, A massive Saurid dreadnought that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. For a moment, space was quiet. The aliens scanned the system, looking for Earth's defensive fleet. Their sensors found nothing but empty space and the usual traffic of civilian vessels going about their business. It looked like humanity had given up without a fight. That was exactly what Admiral Brooks had wanted them to think. The first attack came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Human fighters emerged from hiding spots throughout the system, striking at the alien fleet's supply ships and communication relays. Instead of engaging the main battle line, they hit targets the aliens had not even thought to defend. Within minutes, the orderly alien formation was in chaos. Their communications were jammed, their supply lines were cut, and they faced attacks from directions they had not planned for. The humans were fighting a three-dimensional battle while the aliens were still thinking in terms of flat battle lines, but this was just the beginning. As the alien commanders tried to regroup and restore order, they began to receive messages that made no sense to them. Human voices speaking directly to individual alien ships, calling out their commanders by name and challenging them to single combat. The psychological warfare had begun, and the aliens had no idea how to respond to an enemy that treated war as performance art rather than a formal ritual. The battle for humanity's survival was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. 2 years had passed since the barrier went up around the solar system. Nick Torres checked his instruments one more time as his small ship approached the invisible wall that kept humanity trapped. The ship was built from stolen alien technology and human engineering, designed to slip through the barrier without being detected. Nick had been a military pilot before the quarantine, one of the best. When Earth's government started looking for volunteers for impossible missions, his name was at the top of the list. The mission was simple in theory but deadly in practice. Get through the barrier, find out what the aliens were planning, and report back to Earth. The barrier itself was almost impossible to see. It looked like a shimmer in space, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Nick's ship had been modified with cloaking technology reverse-engineered from a Zephyrian probe that had crashed on Mars 5 years earlier. If the modifications worked, he would pass right through. If they failed, he would be destroyed instantly. Here goes nothing, Nick muttered to himself as he flew straight at the barrier. For a moment, every instrument on his ship went crazy. Lights flashed, alarms screamed, and he felt like his bones were vibrating. Then everything went quiet and he was through, flying free in open space for the first time in 2 years. The nearest star system was Proxima Centauri. Just over 4 light-years from Earth, intelligence reports suggested the aliens were building something there, so that was where Nick headed. The journey took 3 weeks even with his modified, faster-than-light drive. What he found when he arrived made his blood run cold. The system was full of alien ships, hundreds of them arranged in perfect formations around the star. Most were sleek Zephyrian vessels, but Nick could see the angular shapes of Saurid warships and the flowing organic curves of ships from species he did not recognize. Nick activated his stealth systems and moved closer. His ship's computer automatically started recording everything it could see. The aliens had built massive shipyards in orbit around Proxima Centauri, factories that were churning out new warships every day. This was not a defensive fleet. This was an invasion force. As he watched from hiding, Nick saw something that made his heart race. The aliens were loading their ships with weapons he had never seen before, devices that glowed with the same energy as the barrier around Earth. These were planet killers. Weapons designed to destroy entire worlds from space. A communication signal reached his ship, but it was not directed at him. The aliens were talking to each other, and Nick's computer was translating their words. What he heard made him realize that humanity was in more danger than anyone back on Earth understood. General Crickstar of the Saurid Dominion reporting, a harsh voice said. Fleet construction is ahead of schedule. We will be ready to begin the final solution within 60 days. Another voice answered, smoother and more musical. Nick recognized it as Zephyrian. The Council grows impatient. Humanity's quarantine was meant to be temporary until they learned to be peaceful. But our observers report they are becoming more dangerous, not less. They adapt too quickly, a third voice said, one that sounded like wind through broken glass. In 2 years, they have reverse-engineered our technology and improved it. They are building weapons and ships we did not think they could understand. The barrier will not hold them forever. General Crickstar's voice grew angry. Then we end this now, before they become strong enough to break free? The Council voted for quarantine, but they will understand when we present them with the destroyed remains of the human system. Better to act now than wait for them to spread their violence to other worlds. Nick felt sick. The aliens were planning to commit genocide, to wipe out every human in the solar system. But the conversation was not over. What of the councils? Laws against destroying intelligent species? Zephyrian asked. The humans are not like other species, Crickstar replied. They do not follow the rules of civilized behavior. They are unpredictable, chaotic, dangerous. They think differently than any species we have encountered. The Council will thank us for removing this threat before it can spread. Nick had heard enough. He started to back his ship away from the alien fleet when his stealth systems detected another ship approaching. This one was different, smaller, and faster than the military vessels. As it got closer, Nick realized it was sending him a coded message on a human frequency. The ship docked with his in the shadow of an asteroid. The airlock opened and a woman stepped through. She was tall and thin, with short black hair and eyes that had seen too much. Nick recognized her immediately from the intelligence files. "Elena Rodriguez," he said, "you were supposed to be dead." Elena smiled grimly. "Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. I have been living among the aliens for 18 months, gathering intelligence. What I have learned will terrify Earth's leaders." She pulled out a data device and connected it to Nick's computer. "The fleet you see here is just the beginning. The aliens have been planning this for over a year. They are not just afraid of human violence. They are afraid of human thinking." Nick frowned. "What do you mean?" "The alien species that make up the Galactic Council have been peaceful for so long that they have bred war out of themselves," Elena explained. "They have also bred out creativity, adaptability, and independent thought. They solve problems by committee and follow rigid rules that never change." The data on Elena's device showed battle records from alien conflicts going back thousands of years. Every fight followed the same pattern. The aliens would line up their ships, announce their intentions, exchange fire according to predetermined rules, and retreat when losses reached acceptable levels. They fight like it is a game. "With rules everyone agrees to follow," Nick said, studying the records. "Exactly. And humans break every rule they think they understand about warfare. We do not announce our attacks. We do not fight fair. We adapt our tactics in the middle of battle. We turn our weaknesses into strengths and find opportunities in disasters." Elena showed him more data, psychological profiles the aliens had built of human behavior. "They have studied our history and concluded that we are completely unpredictable. They cannot model our behavior or predict our responses. That terrifies them more than any weapon we might build." Nick understood now why the aliens were so afraid. They are not just worried about us being violent. They are worried about us being better than them at everything that matters in a crisis. "The younger alien species are starting to ask questions," Elena continued. "They want to know why their technology has not improved in thousands of years. While humans went from barely reaching space to reverse engineering alien tech in just 2 years, some of them are beginning to wonder if the Galactic Council's way is not the only way." That was when Nick realized the real scope of the problem. The Council is not just trying to destroy us to protect the galaxy. They are trying to destroy us to protect their own power. Elena nodded. "If other species see what humans can accomplish, they might start asking why they need the Council at all. We represent everything the Council has tried to eliminate from galactic civilization: independence, creativity, the ability to solve problems without permission." Nick looked back at the alien fleet through his ship's viewports. Hundreds of warships preparing to destroy Earth, not because humanity was evil, but because humanity was different. Because humans represented a way of thinking that could change everything. I need to get this information back to Earth, Nick said. Our people need to know what they are really facing. Elena shook her head. Getting the information to Earth is just the first step. The real question is what humanity will do with it. The aliens expect us to panic, to beg for mercy, to try to negotiate. That is what any civilized species would do. Nick smiled for the first time in weeks. Good thing humans have never been very civilized. 3 months had passed since the disaster at Kepler 7. Commander Amy Stone stood in the shuttle bay of the USS Freedom, watching her diplomatic team make final preparations for what might be humanity's most important mission ever. The message from the Galactic Council had been clear and frightening. Humanity was being called to answer for their crimes against galactic peace. Amy had read the formal charges so many times she knew them by heart. The humans were accused of being a violent species that threatened the safety of all peaceful civilizations. The evidence was the music they had shared with the Zephyrians, which the aliens saw as proof that humans loved war and killing. Dr. Alan Porter walked up beside her, carrying his research files. He was the smartest person Amy had ever met, and if anyone could find a way out of this mess, it would be him. His job was to study alien cultures and help the team understand what they were really dealing with. The shuttle is ready, Commander. Her pilot called out. Course set for the council ring. Amy nodded and led her team aboard. As they lifted off from Earth, she looked down at the blue and green world below. It might be the last time any human would see their home planet free. If this mission failed, Earth would be cut off from the galaxy forever, or worse, the journey to the council ring took 5 days. When they finally arrived, Amy could hardly believe what she was seeing. The ring was a massive structure built around a binary star system, 2 suns that danced around each other in eternal orbit. The ring itself was bigger than Earth's moon, made of materials that glowed with their own light. 12 species built this together, Dr. Porter said, looking at his notes. It took them 300 years to complete. Each section represents one of the council members. As their shuttle approached the docking bay, Amy could see ships from all over the galaxy. Some looked like the crystal vessels of the Zephyrians. Others were dark and angular, built by species she had never heard of. One ship looked like it was made of pure energy, barely solid enough to touch. The docking bay was enormous, with ceilings that stretched up so high they disappeared in shadows. Gravity was light here, making each step feel like a small jump. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. A group of alien escorts met them at the airlock. The leader was unlike anything Amy had ever imagined. It stood 8 feet tall on 6 legs, with skin that looked like moving water. Its voice came from somewhere inside its body, echoing strangely. I am Guide Nexhol. You will follow me to the council chamber. Do not speak unless the council addresses you directly. Do not touch anything. Do not make sudden movements. They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls showed scenes from a dozen different worlds, beautiful and peaceful. Amy noticed that none of the art showed any kind of conflict or struggle. Everything was calm, ordered, perfect. The council chamber was the most impressive room Amy had ever seen. It was shaped like a dome, with seats arranged in a circle around a platform in the center. Each seat was designed for a different type of alien body. The ceiling showed a map of the entire galaxy, with thousands of stars twinkling like jewels. 12 beings sat in the circle, representing the most powerful species in known space. Amy recognized a few from her briefings. The Zephyrian representative had skin like living diamond. The Saurid delegate looked like a giant lizard wearing robes of office. Others were so alien that Amy could barely understand what she was looking. At the highest seat sat Chancellor Ixhan of the Hegemony, the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. It looked almost human except for its completely black eyes and skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Humans of Earth, Chancellor Ixon spoke, its voice filling the chamber without seeming loud. You stand accused of being a threat to galactic peace. The evidence will now be presented. What followed was the most terrifying hour of Amy's life. One by one, the council members presented their case against humanity. The Zephyrians showed recordings of the music from Kepler to 7, but they had studied it and found even worse things. They had discovered human war movies, military music, competitive sports, and literature about conflict. The Sword delegate stood on its hind legs and hissed. They have weapons designed only to kill their own kind. Their entire history is one of war after war. They fight each other for resources, for beliefs, for territory. They cannot be trusted. A being made of what looked like living shadow spoke. Next, our analysis of human psychology shows dangerous traits. They are competitive, aggressive, unpredictable. They solve problems through conflict rather than cooperation. They celebrate warriors and fighters as heroes. Dr. Porter leaned over to whisper to Amy. They are not wrong about our history, but they do not understand the context. They see the surface but miss the deeper meaning. The worst evidence came from a species Amy had never heard of before. The Voidborn looked like jellyfish made of energy floating above their seat. We have studied human entertainment. They create stories about war, violence, destruction. They enjoy watching simulated combat. They teach their children games of conflict. This is not a civilized species? When all the evidence had been presented, Chancellor Ixon stood. The chamber fell completely silent. The verdict of this council is unanimous. Humanity poses an unacceptable risk to galactic civilization. You show all the signs of a species that will spread violence wherever you go. Therefore, this council orders immediate quarantine of the Sol system. Amy felt her heart stop. Quarantine? Your species will be confined to your home system. A barrier will be placed around your sun that your technology cannot cross. If you attempt to break this barrier or expand beyond your borders, this council will authorize preemptive action to protect the galaxy. The Chancellor's black eyes seemed to look right through Amy. You will have time to think about what you have done. Perhaps in a few centuries, when you have learned to be peaceful, this council will reconsider. Until then, humanity is a danger that must be contained. As Amy and her team were escorted back to their shuttle, Dr. Porter grabbed her arm. Commander, I think I understand what happened here. These species have been peaceful for so long they have forgotten what real strength looks like. They see our ability to fight and overcome challenges as pure evil. They cannot imagine that the same traits that make us good at war also make us good at everything else. Amy looked back at the massive council ring as their shuttle pulled away. Somewhere in there, 12 species had just sentenced humanity to prison. But Dr. Porter was right about one thing. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought they understood humans, but they only saw what they feared to see. The barrier went up 3 days after Amy returned to Earth. It was invisible, but absolute, cutting humanity off from the stars. What the Council did not know was that humans had never been very good at accepting cages. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you tried to trap the most stubborn species in known space. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon and watched the stars shift as his ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The blue glow of the engines faded and normal space appeared around them. Before them floated Kepler 7, a massive space station that looked like a silver wheel spinning slowly in the darkness. This was the moment humanity had waited for since they first looked up at the stars. First contact with an alien species. Jake felt his heart beat faster as he looked at the station. The Zephyrians had built it as a meeting place. Neutral ground where both species could talk safely. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes walked up beside him. She carried a data pad with all the diplomatic notes they had spent months preparing. Her job was to make sure this first meeting went well. Behind her stood Dr. Ben Carter, a tall man with gray hair who knew more about alien biology than anyone. On Earth, Captain, we are getting a signal from the station, the communications officer called out. They are asking us to dock at Port 7. Jake nodded. Take us in slowly. Let them see we come in peace. The USS Horizon moved toward the station like a small fish swimming toward a giant whale. As they got closer, Jake could see the alien ship docked on the other side. It was beautiful, made of what looked like crystal and metal mixed together. It glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Docking complete, Captain," his pilot reported. Jake took a deep breath. "Lisa, Ben, are you ready to make history?" Lisa smiled, but he could see she was nervous too. As ready as anyone can be for something like this? They walked through the airlock and into the station. The gravity felt normal and the air was good to breathe. The Zephyrians had made sure humans would be comfortable here. The walls were smooth and white, with patterns of light moving across them like water. A door opened ahead of them, and the first alien Jake had ever seen walk through. The Zephyrian was tall, maybe 7 feet, with skin that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its face was almost human, but the eyes were larger and completely silver. When it moved, small lights flickered under its skin. "I am Veltar," the alien said in perfect English. Its voice sounded like music. "I speak for my people. Welcome to Kepler 7, Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. This is Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes and Dr. Ben Carter. We come from Earth in the name of all humanity." Veltar nodded, a gesture that seemed universal. "Your species is young, but we sense great potential in you. Come, let us talk and learn about each other." They followed Veltar into a large room, with a round table in the center. The walls showed images of space, stars, and planets. It was like sitting inside a window to the universe. For 2 hours they talked about their worlds, their people, their hopes for the future. The Zephyrians had been traveling space for thousands of years, but had never found another species quite like humans. They seemed genuinely interested in friendship. "We would like to show you something," Lisa said. "A gift from our world to yours." She pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. "This contains examples of human art and culture. Music, stories, pictures, things that show who we are as a people." Veltar's crystal skin glowed brighter. "We are honored. Music is sacred to my people. Our bodies respond to sound and rhythm. May we experience your gift now?" Dr. Carter smiled. "Of course. We chose pieces that represent human achievement and spirit." Lisa activated the device. The first song was a classical piece, a symphony that told the story of a great battle. The music was powerful, with drums that sounded like war and horns that called soldiers to fight. It was beautiful but fierce, showing both the pain and glory of human conflict. Veltar's body began to change. The lights under its skin flickered faster, and the crystal surface started to vibrate. The alien stepped back from the table, its silver eyes wide with what looked like fear. "What is this?" Veltar asked, its musical voice now sharp and high. "This sound speaks of violence, of war, of death. Why do you share songs of killing with us?" Jake felt confusion wash over him. "It is just music, art. It tells stories of our past, our struggles, how we overcame them." But Veltar was backing toward the door. "Your struggles involve destroying each other. This music celebrates battle. It glorifies conflict. We believed you were a peaceful species seeking friendship." Lisa tried to step forward. "Please, let us explain. These are just stories set to music. We don't mean any harm." "Stories of war," Veltar said. "Songs that make fighting sound beautiful. Your gift reveals your true nature. You are a species that loves violence, that makes art from destruction." The alien's whole body was glowing now, pulsing with agitation. "We cannot continue this meeting. My people must know what you truly are." Before any of the humans could say another word, Veltar was gone. The door closed behind the alien with a sound like breaking glass. The 3 humans stood alone in the beautiful room, surrounded by images of peaceful stars, knowing they had just destroyed humanity's first chance at making friends among the stars. Jake looked at the music device still sitting on the table. Such a small thing to cause such a big problem. He had no idea that this moment would soon bring the wrath of an entire galaxy down upon the human race.